Okay, so you guys are going to be doing this review in Schoology, and it's going to only show you a problem at a time. I'm going to do most of these problems with you. At least I'm going to tell you how to start it, and then you guys are going to finish it and put your answer in Schoology. Make sure that you're trying your best, because these problems are going to be almost exactly like this tomorrow on the test. Remember to pause at any time if I'm going too fast, or if you are ready to start working on that problem and answer it before you move on to the next one. So problem number 1 says the daily cost of hiring an electrician, f of x, which really is the same thing as y. So make sure that you know that. To work x hours on a job can be modeled using the linear function. The electrician charges a fixed cost of $50 plus an additional cost of $40 per hour. So $40 is going to have the x because x is the number of hours. Okay? So the equation really is y equals, you started with 50 plus 40x. Okay, once you have that equation, you can put that in Desmos and look at the table. Now the table, x is the hours, and y is the cost, right? So the money. It says the electrician works a maximum of 8 hours per day. So he can work from 0 hours all the way to 8 hours, right? So it's asking us what is the range of the function. Well, range is the y. Okay? It's also on the word wall. You should know, which one is it? It's the Radox. Okay, range are the y's, domain on the x. So range is the y, so we're looking at this side only. So when I put this in this equation in Desmos, I'm going to be looking at the right side for my y's, from 0 hours all the way to 8 hours, and that's going to be my cost. Also know that y is the f of x, so your answer choices should only ones that say f of x. Okay, so I'm just going to start it, but I'm not going to finish it for you. You are typing y equals 50 plus 40x. And you are going to hit settings and open up the table. Okay, and go look from 0 to 8 what the cost is. Okay, pause the video so you can work on that problem right now. Problem number 2 is asking for the range. Range is ribbit, RBT, which means range is from the bottom to the top. So from the lowest point to the highest point. Okay? This is your range. So pause the video, answer the question, and move on to the next problem. Problem number 3, same thing. It's asking for the range. RBT. Range is from the bottom to the top. So you're looking from the lowest point to the highest point on this line. Okay? So figure it out. Also know that range is your y. Radox. Range is the y, domain is the x. Don't choose answers that have another letter on it. Okay? So when you're ready to answer that question, you can press pause and you can move on to the next one. Problem number 4, the table shows the linear relationship between the amount of weight in pounds an athlete lifts and the number of sets the athlete does. So just know that X is always first and Y is always second, okay? Based on the table, what is the rate of change? We did rate of change a lot last week when we were doing our makeup grades. Remember that you need to subtract the Y's, subtract the X's, and divide them. So the Y's on top of the X's. So you're going to subtract these two, and divide those numbers. Okay? And that's how you're going to put your answer in for number 4. Pause the video so you can subtract that in decimals. Subtract the Y's, 30 minus 75, subtract the X's, 1 minus 4, and divide those two numbers. The Y always goes on top of the X. Problem 5 is asking for the same thing. What is the rate of change? Okay? But they gave you an equation. So the rate of change is in the equation. Okay, rate of change is always next to the X. So Y equals mx plus b. The rate of change is m, right? Because it's next to the X. So look at your equation and see which one's next to the X. That will be your rate of change. So put the answer in Schoology, and we can move on to problem number 6. If they do not give you a table, okay, and they're asking for the slope, which is the rate of change, I want you to add a table in decimals. Add a table in decimals. Pick 2 points, right? Put them in the table. Subtract the Y's, subtract the X's. So this point right here is 0 and 8. And this point here is 3 and 20. So subtract the Y's, subtract the X's, and divide the Y's over the X's. And that's going to be your slope. Just like you did over here on problem number 4. Okay, when you're ready to move on, unpause it. Problem number 7. Some of you can just look at this table and figure out where the x-intercept is just by looking at it. The x-intercept is where it crosses the x-axis. Okay? If you cannot tell just by looking at the table, I would add this table on decimals. So add the table to decimals. So you can see it in the graph. Okay? It's wherever it crosses. It's wherever it crosses the x-axis. So wherever it crosses that point, that's going to be your answer. Okay? Moving on to problem number 8. If you're not ready, just pause the video. For problem number 8, you're just going to type all these answers in decimals. Okay? They're asking for the x and the y-intercept, so they just want to know, do you know how to write the x and y-intercept as an ordered pair? And if you don't know, type all of these points in decimals and see which one would be the x-intercept and which one would be the y-intercept. see problem. Problem number 9. This one's super easy. It's asking for the 0. You guys need to know that 0 is the x-intercept. The 0 of the function is the x-intercept. It is where it crosses the x-axis, okay? So if you type this equation in Desmos, you can go click on the x-intercept, and that will be your answer. Just the number by itself, not the whole point, just the number. Problem number 10 is super easy. You're going to type this in Desmos, and you're going to see which one looks the same. Don't forget, some of these are solid line, and some of these are dashed. There is a difference between solid and dashed. You will get the wrong answer if you pick the wrong one. Solid, dashed. Okay, so just go put that inequality in Desmos and see which one matches it. Number 11, same thing. You're going to put this in Desmos, and you're going to put all of the answer choices in Desmos. Add these points, all of these points, add them in Desmos, and see where the point lands in the solution, okay, in the shaded area. It needs to be on the shaded area. And then problem number 12, okay, you're literally just going to look at this equation and tell me what happened, okay? There's a -3 inside the parentheses. What does that mean? We did it last week for linear transformation, so you can look in your notebook and see your notes and see what happens when you have a minus inside the parentheses. And just remember that tomorrow's test might be different, so you also have to know what happens if the number is outside the parentheses. What if it would have said -3 outside the parentheses? What does that mean? Or what if it says +3 outside the parentheses? What does that mean? Okay, so go ahead and answer the questions and check in Schoology which ones did you get right, which ones did you get wrong, and you guys can go back and fix those to practice some more for the test tomorrow.